So that's a member of the board of CBN. We have a number of other speakers who we're going to pull up to our pod station. And we have someone who was on the panel for one of the breakout sessions.
Yeah. Welcome, ma'am. So our online audience would have heard you, but we'd like you to please tell us your name again and then what you do, and we'll take it up from there.
Okay. Hello. My name is Jumoke Alagbe, and I work with Site Savers as Regional Funding Manager for West Africa.
Fantastic. So we just had the CBN board members say that banking the unbanked is just one step toward financial inclusion. What's your perspective on that?
Yes, I totally agree with him. And I would also like to add that it's not just, he mentioned access, because I was listening to what he was saying. And it's not just access. We should also consider usage as well as quality. And Site Savers, where I work, we're a pan-disability organization, and our work is focused on supporting persons with disability to ensure that they are able to live independently, so they can work, they can earn a living. And so when we're talking about the unbanked, or those that are banked, also remember the vulnerable segments, particularly persons with disability. How are we ensuring that the financial inclusion that we're talking about is, is inclusive in the sense of making sure that our products and our services are inclusive, they are accessible, and not just talking the talk, but also being able to measure, being able to report on what we're doing.
I think that's really significant, because Mebaka, whenever we talk about inclusion, women come first, but somehow we lose sight. We're almost blindsided by the other segments of society that need to be included. So whether it's people living with disabilities or other vulnerable societies. So really want to thank you for bringing that to the fore.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
And please keep up the good work. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
We'd like to know your name and what you do, what organization you represent here today.
My name is Kathleen Erimu, the founder GMD Kudimata Nigeria Limited. Okay. Kudimata is a financial literacy and digital literacy training organization where we train youths and women in particular, financial literacy and digital literacy, because we think financial literacy and digital literacy as is the key factor for economic growth and sustainability. People need to understand money and money matters.
Absolutely. So what has your experience been like in having these literacy sessions with youth? What do you think? You think there's progress? What do you think generally? What's the pulse of the youth as regards money matters?
Oh, wow. It's been interesting. Over the last 2 years, we've trained over 600,000 youths.
You deserve an award.
Oh, no. Thank you. Over 600. And they actually have embraced it. They see that it is an area where they really lack. And with this that they've been doing, it's nice. And when we finish training them, they go through a quiz process and see that they understand. And they pass. And they are ready for the journey ahead. It's been an interesting journey, and in collaboration with key partners. Coming here today, it's still working with the partners that we have here to see that financial inclusion and literacy, I dare say, grow in Nigeria. The 95% is
possible.
Is attainable. So I just want to quickly ask you a question. Some people have said that to really educate, especially those in, the hinterlands and, the communities that are far from urban centers, right, that radio and some other mediums have to be used. What's your perspective on that, especially to reach people that are not in urban areas?
Yeah, radios are key to use. But in person train, so that train the trainer. So we go to the interland. We gather. Trust is very important when you're discussing money, because no one size money discussion or it related to it's different for each person. So you go to the interland and you work with their clusters, communities. So Kudimata has communities. So it's community based, where you get a trusted person who you'd interact with, you train. To do the trainers. We train in languages, in the key languages, Pidgin English. So you come down to where they need it. A mama in the market, when we go to the market, we talk to mama. Mama needs to understand that apart from being included, mama has been included. No, not a problem. Mama has the product, not a problem. But does mama understand why she is being included? Mama does not know. So literacy becomes key. It's a key driver to ensure that financial inclusion succeeds.
Well
That's
done.
what we're working on.
Well done.
Well done.
I love your smile.
Thank you so much. So this whole thing about, I think that we got that insight that it's beyond just broadcasting and going on air. Training the trainer is actually even more effective in getting the word out to the rural communities. I think that's pretty significant.
I'm not just giving them the products, but letting them know why they should use the products and how to use the products.
All right, so we have another interviewee who is going to come up.
Please come in your name and your organization and why you're here today.
My name is Feishayo Alayande. I'm the Acting Executive Secretary for Lagos State Employment Trust Fund. And I'm here today to support the cause, to say that financial inclusion is everyone's responsibility, both on the public and private side.
Everyone's responsibility. Tell us, we've spoken to government, we've spoken to stakeholders, people that provide financial services. For the regular citizen or Nigerian, or someone who's just interested in financial inclusion but is not really an expert, what is their role? Because you say there's something for everyone to do.
So basically, their role is to ensure that they're empowering the next person next to them. No one should have an issue with accessing finance. No one should have an issue with accessing infrastructure. No one should have an issue with getting a decent job. And that's really what being inclusive is when it comes to finance. I said something earlier on in terms of wholesome financial inclusion, saying nobody should be left behind. And that's really our call to action.
So, what is Lagos State doing to further drive the event ends today, right? So what ways will Lagos State help us drive this message further to those who need to hear?
Yes. So in terms of driving the message further, we have so many programs that people can plug in. We have different agencies and government departments that do this with our programs. But ultimately, the call to action I've had today is basically saying that in the space you're in, make sure everyone is supporting the government to do this work. Okay. If there's somebody that works into a bank today that isn't able to access finance, please bring them our way. We would give them a loan at 9%. The single obligor limit is 5 million. But once we can prove and work with that person to pay back the loan, we can bring them back in society because then they have a financial history. So we'll work with that individual to ensure they have a financial blueprint so they can access bigger ticket items. But don't turn anyone away. Bring them to us. We would make something out of them.
And how do we find you? Because you said we should bring them to you. That's the question.
Because after people will
just
look
check
for
us
you.
out, www.lsctf.ng, Lagos State Employment Trust Fund. LSETF. So Lagos State Employment Trust Fund.ng. And all the information on there regarding our programs and myself, Feishayo Alayande. Thank you guys. Well done. And thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming this way.
By. All right.
Thank
so that's
you.
lsetf.ng. And this is just, I believe, for Lagos State residents and people in Lagos State to take advantage of.
So please don't lose sight of that important information that could transform somebody's life. You live in Lagos State, please go find that website and do the needful and change your life forever.
All right. Very soon, we are going to head back into the main hall for plenaries. But we have another interview before we do that.
Thank you.
Please like to know your name and what you do.
Oluwatomi Romosele. I'm General Manager and Research Manager for EFINA. That's Enhancing Financial Innovation and Access.
That's one of our major stakeholders. So what's your perspective on the conference?
They've quoted EFINA too many times in this conference. You think they're the organizers.
Thank you.
Well, we're part organizers. So what has been your perspectives over the last, yesterday and then today?
I think it's been remarkable, and it's one that we've looked forward to, because for EFINA, we've worked in the financial inclusion space for 15 years now, partnering with the CBN, and the pause to the last conference gave us like a heart attack. And so seeing this come through and seeing the interest from stakeholders, having great conversations, and also the theme, not just about financial inclusion, but when we go to the field to collect the A2F data, everyone asks us, financial inclusion for what? So you meet the market woman in her house, in her farm, and she's wondering why. So this helps us to understand that everyone is thinking about that. So we're answering the question here about financial inclusion for what? For economic development, and how it can also touch the average man on the street. So we're happy that when we go back to the field next year, we can have some amazing insights and information to tell them that we are now ready and we're doing things that not just increases access, but can improve their livelihoods as well.
Thank you so much, EFINA. Thank you, and congratulations on all the good work you do.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Again, we're back from the breakout sessions. I would like to appeal to the organizing committee members to please ensure that all the delegates are cleared from those breakout rooms to this main hall for continuation of plenaries. Please, it's very important. Also, our virtual audience joining us from all over the world, we are pleased that you are tuned in to be a part of this wonderful conversation going down here at Landmark Event Center, Lagos State. Of course, the second International Financial Inclusion Conference with the team, the very thought-provoking team, inclusive growth, harnessing financial inclusion for economic development. And we just went for the breakout sessions where we had 4 groups, and delegates were able to thoroughly interrogate the subjects of discourse for each of those 4 breakout groups. I have no doubt in my mind, because I went around the rooms, I saw the light that was being generated and the quantum of knowledge that was being shared. Another plus for the organization of this conference. Let me just, whilst we're getting the other people back into the hall, state that earlier we had acknowledged the chief executives here, and they all also, so we had acknowledged some chief executives. I also like to acknowledge that Dr. Aminu Maida, Executive Vice Chairman, CEO, Nigeria Communications Commission, is also here represented. The EVC of NCC, it's been represented by the Head Digital Services and Skills of NCC, Mrs. Hawawa Kilibuba. Madam, thank you very much. Also a very familiar face in spaces for these conversations. So once again, like to have everyone back into the hall, just to confirm that you also have been well taken care of tea break, during tea break. For our virtual participants from across the world, thank you, Tony.
me see trouble. So today, I said I should treat myself as salary just enter. I ordered my food and was looking forward to demolishing all the orishi-rishi.
Baby, for serving. Are they run?
Oh yeah, time to pay rich now.
Food where you never pay for.
Now here my card begin acting. Hey.
You know what?
You know what, okay? After debiting me, it's like this one wants to find my trouble. See premium dragging. Oh, because this card did not work.
Save yourself the embarrassment. Get a card that works.
All right.
Points personal banking.
So welcome back. Please let's invite all the delegates to come back into the hall. At this point, I'm going to be inviting the cast for the next plenary. Ladies and gentlemen, please get your colleagues and friends and associates who are here but not back into the hall to join us as we resume for the commencement of plenaries. And at this point, I am going to be inviting Tony. Yes. Are you a member of the panelists? I'm not inviting you to join the panel. I see the moderator is already there. Prof, also welcome back. All right, this panel will be focusing on advancing youth financial inclusion in Nigeria. Please to moderate this panel is no other than Mrs. Temitope Akin-Fadeyi, Head Financial Inclusion Delivery Unit, Central Bank of Nigeria. I want to hear a resounding round of applause because Mrs. Temitope Akin-Fadeyi has been working so hard to ensure that this conference comes together. Please let's welcome the moderator. Madam Moderator, you come and take your space. Joining her is the Group CEO, United Bank for Africa, PLC, and Chairman Body of Bank CEOs, Mr. Oliver Alauba. Mr. Oliver Alauba is here represented by Prince Ayeduo Ayewo. The Prince is going to be representing the Group CEO UBA PLC, and he is the head retail product and sales. Thank you very much. Let's put our hands together. Next on the panel is Miss Ifedayo Khadija Duro Simieti, CEO Her Economy. CEO Her Economy, Miss Ifedayo Khadija Duro Simieti. Ms. Arese Ugu is a financial literacy advocate, author, and producer, Smart Money Woman. Ms. Arese Ugu, she is a financial literacy advocate, author, and producer, Smart Money Woman. And of course, yes, ma'am, you have some information. You're part of the panel. Please come on. That's what I said. You know, Mr. Olaolu Akogun is a Senior Programs Manager, Junior Achievement in Nigeria. Mr. Olaolu? Mr. Olaolu Akogun, I'd like you to please come take your seat here. There he is. I'd like you to have your seat on the panel. So, our panel is complete. Madam Moderator, you take it away from here.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you, and it's my honor to welcome you to this plenary session in which we'll be discussing on advancing the financial inclusion of the youth segments in Nigeria. Now, you'll agree with me, if there's one thing that can be said about Nigeria, is the fact that of our diversity, we have a very huge youth population. Now, that tells you something. If you have a young adult population, that there are potentials for economic activity, there are potentials for growth. But if this segment does not have the right access or adequate access, as it were, to finance, that potential will be grossly limited. So this is a very important conversation. Now, we mentioned FINA earlier, very strategic partner of ours on financial inclusion over the last decade. We know that from the recent statistics, the youth segment continue to be among the most excluded segments in Nigeria. For that reason, we consider it a priority that we all need to keep working on. So young persons ages between 18 and 35 are 6% less likely than their adult counterparts to be included in financial services. Now, when you look at the formal segments, the formal sector of finance, they are 9% less likely. Now, for those of us who joined the conversation on the first day, there were references around the young persons, the youth population, using informal services. And a lot of times, sometimes, unlicensed services, they are more adventurous, they are open to risk, and they have ideas they are born in with. So that brings me to the conversation today. And with me, I have a very eminent panel of speakers from my right to my left, and we welcome you to this conversation. So very quickly, we turn to the banker in the room. Because when we talk about access to finance, now the institutions have very critical roles to play, you will agree. So my question to Prince Ayewo, how can financial institutions better cater to the needs of financial needs of young persons? Now, note the question, I said better cater. We recognize the fact that already you're catering to them. But the fact that there's still a huge proportion that are excluded, it means there's still some more work to be done. Over to you.
Thank you for having me. I'll take it in no specific fashion in trying to respond to that question. The fact is that whatever can and should be done, it has to be something that has to be collaborative and has to be guided. And in achieving that, CBN has a huge role to play to galvanize all the sectors and the players into that kind of momentum that will begin to have impact. The youth demography is something that we should not toy with because they are powerful and they are restless and also they have potential. The segment of the youth in the country that live in those rural areas that we need to impact are quite high. So you have to now look at what the banks can do to impact them in terms of maybe savings and credit. First and foremost, what are the banks doing in the area of agency banking to be able to reach the last mile? By the last time I checked, only 3 banks are playing actively in this sector. And those banks are First Bank, Access Bank, and UBA. So you see, how can you now talk about financial inclusion for this very vibrant segment? If CBN could come up with regulatory guidelines that would impose on banks and other players within their ecosystem to begin to take this segment serious and also to begin to do different things that will enhance these expectations. So for example, the telcos have a role to play also, because even when banks are able to make any offerings, do they have access in terms of communication? Even those agents of the banks or of the fintechs, do they have access to be able to utilize their phones and to be able to run any transactions? The answer is no. So, banks can, of course, if you take it that you must impact this segment, then whatever you do for this segment must be something that will be deliberate, must be focused, and must be carefully developed to speak to their needs. If it does not speak to their needs, then you are not in business. And you see, we said there is a huge gap, a yawning gap indeed, within this segment. So you want to see youth-focused savings accounts that will be opened, and then with low minimum balance requirements. In fact, it should have zero maintenance fees, and then attractive interest rates. Banks should begin to develop mobile banking apps that will speak and help and drive financial inclusion within these segments. Then when you talk about financial literacy too, you cannot speak of whatever you want to do to this demographic without wanting to educate them. You need to demystify what the formal banking sector is all about. Let them feel at home with it. Begin to catch them young, at very young ages. The federal government can begin to partner with the NYC. When they move into the rural areas, when they post them out, begin to equip them, arm them with skills that they can use to further enlighten all of these youths within the sectors. So you would also want to see that the credit scoring for youths within this sector is not available. Because if you want to use the same credit scoring as you would those in the urban centers, then you will get it wrong. So you must begin to develop other
alternates.
Yes, alternatives.
Alternate solutions.
Exactly. That's very, very important.
Thank you very much.
Lastly, the fact that they must have credit. Those credits must be timely and with interest rates that are very encouraging and attractive. And then NIBs are already pushing out those BVN machines. So it's also a good thing that the NIN is now being accepted also as an ID
Thank
for
you very
them.
much.
So let's push them out.
Absolutely.
So that the youth...
So we'll come back to you.
Thank you.
A number of things that you've raised. So partnership
Definitely.
is one. Literacy is another. You talked about tailored products. And then you talked about the linkages with communication and infrastructure. So we'll put a pin on that and then we'll come back to you.
Thank you.
So I'm moving to the far right before I come to the ladies. And this is a question for junior achievements of Nigeria. Now, he touched on financial literacy. I would like to give that to you. So what can be done specifically to improve literacy? Now, let me get you started on that. He mentioned collaboration potentially with NYC. There is actually an initiative that the Federal Ministry of Youth has been taking on for the last couple of years, and it leverages the NYC members. So during the NYC years, they are deployed to local governments to carry out financial literacy programs. But beyond this, there are initiatives that Junior Achievement of Nigeria are taking on literacy. Please enlighten us, Olaolu.
All right, good afternoon, everyone, and it's a pleasure for me to be here this afternoon. Addressing financial literacy, I will start by saying that it's important for us to first advocate for the adoption of financial literacy as a compulsory co-curricular activity in secondary schools and even primary schools. And this is because if you're trying to address the youth population in Nigeria, the first place where you find most young people is in schools. And so it's very important for us to start by advocating for that. When we're able to do that at the primary and secondary school levels, then we would have reached a very good percentage of the youth population in Nigeria. So for us, we've been doing this over the years. For example, we have a program called Chaching that we implement in primary schools across the country. This program leverages cartoon video content, games, and other learning activities that makes learning financial literacy very fun and engaging for these young people. It teaches them the concept of earning, saving, spending, and donating. So if we're able to adopt this kind of program to make it compulsory across primary schools in Nigeria, it would go a long way in driving financial literacy. And of course, we have a program called the Financial Literacy Day that we do in partnership with the Central Bank of Nigeria and the Bankers Committee, where all the bank representatives go to specific schools across the country to teach financial literacy. We do this twice in a year, first in March for the Financial Literacy Day, and secondly in October for the World Savings Day. And in fact, the World Savings Day for 2024 is currently going on now across the country. So we've been doing this, and we've been reaching, thousands of young people. But if we're able to take it further, even with our partnership with the Central Bank, the Bankers Committee, and other relevant stakeholders, even the Ministry of Education, and adopt these kind of programs, then a very good percentage of the youth population would have been reached with financial literacy. And also looking at the rural communities, I know he touched on them earlier. I think it's important that we try to find community-based approaches that we can use to reach them, because the rural communities have a different context from the urban community. So we must first understand what their needs are and tailor whatever interventions, whatever programs we're taking to them to their specific context in terms of language, in terms of method of delivery, and even in terms of access points. For example, for rural communities, we can leverage religious institutions, we can leverage traditional institutions, we can do peer-to-peer training, strategies whereby we identify key persons in such communities and train them on financial literacy, and they go in turn train other members of the community. So for me, from our experience at Junior Achievement Nigeria, I think the first thing we should be doing is advocating for financial literacy to be established as a compulsory co-curricular activity, because, education has gone beyond the core subjects that are taken in school. Because we advocate for, a world in which young people have the skill set and mindset to build thriving communities. And when you're talking about the skill set and mindset that they need to thrive, it's beyond maths, it's beyond physics. These are, communication skills, financial literacy, entrepreneurship, digital literacy, and even work readiness. So that would be my submission for now.
Thank you very much, Alaolu. So giving us further perspective on how we can actually deepen knowledge within the youth segments around financial products and services. Now, moving further to Ife. Now, we talked about partnership, right? And in a way, we're interested in the rural and underserved areas. But we also know that when we talk about inclusion, they are not the only ones. Now, for example, there are those who are not in rural areas. They are not underserved. But there are certain financial services that they are still not readily open to, right? And for different reasons. Insurance, for example, is a product that we've tried over time to push. But in the Nigerian parlance, God forbid, everyone thinks nothing will go wrong until something goes wrong, right? So specific to you now, our economy, you are in the midst of so many things. Now, what role will partnership play in fostering better adoption and usage of financial services among the youth?
Thank you very much for that question. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I hope you are enjoying this session so far. So as somebody who has actually built a financial services product, a digital platform, a fintech platform that allows people, especially women to grow their wealth. And from all the statistics we've seen that women are the most excluded from financial services. This topic is very important to me because we've seen adoption be very slow. And we need everybody to be talking about it. We need the private sector, we need the government, we need clusters, we need associations to come together to actually drive adoption, because that's the only way you can actually build trust and actually get people to actually leverage these platforms, because there's no way you can do this manually. It has to be done digitally. And I'll give some examples. So just here, and this conference is super important for this kind of partnership to work. Just here yesterday, I met someone who is the national or Nigeria, she's the leader of the Nigerian Association of Farmers, and she came to our stand and she was like, oh, she's never heard about her economy and how do we work to help women, and she had over 5,000 women within that cluster. And I was intrigued, and I said, you know what, we're going to come down and we'll take it in batches. We can do batches of hundreds and 200s and speak to these women, talk to them about, teach them, educate them, financial literacy. It's all about the mindset. Let them understand the importance of growing their wealth. So now we're talking about adoption, so that is usage. How are these women actually going to grow their wealth beyond just them opening accounts? So we're going beyond just people opening accounts and all of that. So we said we'll come there, educate them, and let them know the importance and how other people have also done it, people who are probably even earning less than what they're earning, because a lot of people feel like I'm earning 100,000 naira, I have a family of 4, I don't know how I'm going to survive, I don't know how I'm going to save, but you actually can save. And I have a good example. I have a driver who earns about that amount, and I had been telling him, start saving, you never know, your money can grow. You can't just leave your money not working for you. Leverage high yield savings accounts. This is what it can do for you. And within 5 months, he came to meet me and said, Ma, this app is good though. I've saved 200,000 naira. And when you look at the statistics in Nigeria, I saw statistics released earlier this year, and I saw that only 5% of Nigerians have over 500,000 naira in their bank accounts today. He's already getting to that level. So a driver is actually becoming top 5% of people who have over 500,000 naira in their account. So it's very important for you to show them how to do it and give them the tools that they can actually use immediately as they're teaching them, and that way adoption will be faster. Another way we can help people increase adoption and all of that is obviously creating an enabling environment, giving them access to decent jobs that can actually promote economic growth. Once people know that they have jobs, once there's an enabling environment, once Nigeria, continues to grow, then we'll be able to create better jobs that can actually help people grow their wealth, save more money, get better knowledge about where to put their money, investments and all of that. Those things are very important. Another thing that we can do is to create platforms that are user-friendly. The youth, we're talking about the youth now, they're online. We can reach them on social media, explain to them how to leverage a lot of these platforms. He spoke about platforms or financial institutions like First Bank, Access Bank, who are actually reaching the last mile. There are also organizations like Money Point and the likes who are actually, doing a lot in terms of like agency banking, getting into those rural areas, getting people to adopt financial services, tools and products that they've actually also created to actually help them to, become more included. So those are some of the things that I think we can do that are fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ife. I think that's a lot to unpack. And I'm sure there are so many of us in this room, policymakers, service providers, partners in different areas. There's something for everyone. So essentially, Ife is saying this has to be achieved through a collaboration.
Very important.
Yeah. It's not just the regulator, it's not just the market provider. It's going to be a combined effort. Now, turning to Arese. Yes.
Hi.
Thank you very much. So for you, we're going to go in a bit of a different direction. So we are looking at specifically how do we encourage investments that will bring more young people into the financial system. That's one part of the question. Hold on, before you take it away. The second part of the question, because you are a producer of a TV series, Smart Money Woman. I've seen it. I don't know who else has seen it in this room. Oh, I see some hand up at the back. Interesting. Many other hands. Okay. And let me just say this before I hand to you, Ife. Something that struck me when I watched that was this particular lady. So she had some money, but she was actually spending it in some ways that didn't leave anything for her. Now, to your comment, Ife, about usage. So at the end of the day, she ended up in a bad place. So she then needed to do like a health check to get back on track. So from your perspective, how do we get more young people to be that savvy, to understand that this is important? And how do we invest to make that happen?
Thank you so much. My name is Irisa Ugu. I am so grateful that you've included me in this conversation. I'm the author and producer of something called The Smart Money Woman. It started out as a book. Then I went on a Pan-African book tour to countries like South Africa, Tanzania, Uganda, and of course across Nigeria. And everyone kept saying, oh my God, I could totally see this as a movie. So I went and took it a step further and turned it into a TV series. The first went on African Magic and then Netflix. And now we've just launched season 2 on YouTube. It's been on there for 12 days and has over 1 million views across 4 episodes. So my own journey with financial education. Thank you so much. My own journey with financial education started with my own pain points when it came to money. So even with my foreign education and working in financial services, with a few personal and professional setbacks, I basically had to take a look at my own personal finances and say, oh my God, who is actually talking to women like me who want to live a good life but find the balance of protecting their financial future? And when I went on the internet to basically like start trying to look for strategies, what was there was very Youth-centric. They weren't focused on the pain points that actually focused on things that concerned African women when it came to their personal finances. So with Smart Money Woman, when I was thinking through how I wanted to solve that problem, it was about figuring out how we create content that is not just entertaining but relatable in the context of African women. So the story tells, it's like, I like to explain it like it's a Sex and the City but for money but for African women. So it tells a story of 4 girls and their personal finance journeys and how they overcome like different obstacles with money when it comes to love, family. So it tackles issues like financial abuse, making investment decisions, budgeting. So even if it's a fictional story, at the end of each chapter, there's smart money lessons and exercises that the audience can go through to basically like help them in their financial journey. So imagine turning these stories into a TV series, going on. Unfortunately for season 2, even if we went bigger and went to raise capital to make this thing like amazing, so we shot in South Africa, in Cape Town, Johannesburg, and Lagos, we couldn't find a streamer that would pay us the value that was reflective of the work that we had done. But I think that with the economy, putting it on YouTube has made it more like accessible. People don't have money for subscriptions. Seeing themselves in these characters, seeing their pain points being represented in these stories, I feel has made financial literacy more accessible. It's broken down the financial jargon in a way that everyone can understand and is African. I'm loving like all the comments and seeing in real time like how people feel about the series and the stories like in them. And I'm really excited about the community that we're building on YouTube, because I think if you've put this in a context where people love it, they're actually engaging in it, it's sparking conversation, it's sparking change, it's having an impact, because people are going and talking to their parents about wills, people are going and talking to their friends about what are you earning, what return on investments are you getting. We've made it more relatable. I'm excited to see how that community grows and becomes a place of like data collection for different partners and different like institutions to see in real time the pain points that people are responding to and creating financial solutions that are actually tailored to those pain points. So for example, in the series, there's a fashion designer who is basically trying to grow her business and having issues with accessing finance to grow her business. Because what is available traditionally, even when they say, oh my God, this is a product for women, is really just a product that is traditional, but they've just branded it as something that's for women. They haven't actually looked at, this fashion designer does not have 125% collateral to match to, the capital that she's asking for. But what she does have is a transaction history of her sales that you can use to see what she's done. So how do we create financial solutions that actually cater to the actual pain points of the youth? And looking at even like the fact that traditional banks and even fintechs to a certain extent haven't really seen that if you're trying to access the youth, you have to see what the job market looks like now. Many youth are going into things that are focused on like digital marketing, they're content creators, they're influencers. What kind of savings products and what kind of financial solutions are you creating that actually cater to this new creative economy that gives them solutions that cater to the actual problems that they're dealing with?
Thank you very much. I think that is also very, very critical. Now, the last notes, we're going to do like one round and to basically drop our closing thoughts on how do we make financial services more inclusive. We're all about financial inclusion. And when we mean inclusive, Arese mentioned something very critical. The fashion designer that has a certain type of need, and then the available services are not talking to that need. So two things are going to happen. She's going to look for alternates that may not serve a purpose and may leave her vulnerable. We all know the story. Loan sharks, sharp practices. Just because I'm desperate to get finance, just give me anyway. And then there are consequences around consumer protection. So closing thoughts on being more inclusive. Now, one comment also I'll pass on to what you said around she does not have the 125% collateral. Now, there are initiatives now that I think we need to publicize a lot more in Nigeria. Over the last couple of years, we've been working to promote the National Collateral Registry, which essentially promotes the use of what we call movable collateral assets. So you don't need the traditional collateral, the landed assets, the machinery. You can actually have your chattels, your movable assets, to book loans. So that's one conversation. Maybe that will make its way into the next edition of the Smart Money Woman. So coming now to Olaolu, closing thoughts, inclusive finance for youths.
All right, so I think what is really important, and I know that Arese and the first speaker touched on it a bit earlier, is that if we are designing financial services, digital financial services, the most important thing to do is to design with the beneficiaries and not for the beneficiaries. And that is speaking from the social impact perspective. A lot of times we design things for a target group without actually considering, without actually working with them. So my advice would be that let us start designing with them, such that we first listen to them to understand who they are, understand their context, understand their needs, and also work with them to identify the solutions. Also develop a prototype with them that is also going to be tested with them and go through a series of iterations, after which the final product will be deployed. So that's my simple admonition, following a human-centered design approach whereby we are designing with youth population and not designing products for them. Thank you.
So another thing I would like to add to what he's just said now is language. So we can create products that can actually convert to Hausa, they can translate to Hausa, they can translate to Igbo, they can translate to Yoruba. Another thing that we can do is to have on-the-ground support or ambassadors within different communities that can go around and do probably like a train-the-trainer session to continue to delve or dive into that message of financial literacy, educating the people within their communities. And another thing is smartphone access. So, for example, her economy, when we go around to do like financial literacy trainings and workshops, we go into the markets, the rural areas, we saw a lot of statistics online to say, mobile phone access or penetration is now 98% in Nigeria. You know, you're excited, you're like, okay, let's hit the ground running, we have a mobile app, let's go. And then you actually get into the market and you actually find that, okay, yes, they have mobile phones, but they actually don't have smartphones. And one of the ways that you can actually get people access is through technology, and it's by downloading apps, right? So if they can't download the apps, then they may not have access to the products that we are actually creating. So smartphone access is very important. So whatever we can create, whether it's loans for them to get smartphones, affordable loans, things like that, that would be super beneficial for adoption. Thank you.
I think banks should make it easy for youths to have access to loans. And they should have like a pool of funds that they can take money from, give to loans at little or no collateral. Because they are starting off. So it will, and you know they will be banking with you. So you will monitor how their business is progressing. And after a while, you begin to, make the repayments in such a way that it will be affordable and will grow with them. And then you must win their confidence. Win the confidence of the youth is very, very important so that more youths can come. And one of those ways is by having those university campuses and having like rural branches, and then educating those agents that are working with your banks to be able to educate the youths at the last mile and begin to encourage them. So whatever it is that you are doing on a larger scale at the main branches, let those agents also be able to churn them out. Let it not be cash in, cash out that they are doing. Let them do more that will financially include the youths. Thank you.
Okay, I just want to say that like we have to also, in focusing on youth, we have to really focus on how we're making it relatable, because let's be honest, financial literacy is quite boring, but in accessing or impacting youth, we have to find ways to make it more relatable, more fun. I would love to see a situation where my content is replicated in different languages and pushed through telcos to reach more people, because where are the youth? They're focused on their phones, they're focused on digital. So if we're really trying to impact them, we have to find more relatable ways to do that. So I'd love to see ways that we can partner to push that content in different languages to more people. The Smart Money Woman is airing on YouTube on Azure Studios. Please, I'd like to get to millions of views per episode. Please watch, share. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. So on that note, we close to the speakers and we turn to you, the audience. Now we know that this has brought many thoughts, many ideas, and definitely many questions. So we'd love to take your questions. Do we have questions from the audience? We're digesting this. We said content should be bite-sized. Okay? All right. If there are no questions, I think our work is done. So I'd like to thank my panelists.
Over there. There's a hand up.
There's a hand. Please. MC, can we pass the microphone? MCs? Okay, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I want to thank the organizers of this program. First and foremost, the program is good, but the people who actually the program is supposed to be meant for, unfortunately, even in this hall, are excluded. You also are aware that the biggest part of the people who are excluded are people from the north, and the biggest people from the north who are excluded are the farmers. The program beautiful design, and the farmers, smallholder farmers, are left out. Unfortunately, I'm going to shock you. The people who are excluded are the one who owns the money that drives this economy. If you are aware, the budget for Nigeria for agriculture is 362 billion. This year's budget. That budget cannot support agriculture. That budget cannot fund agriculture. We have about 40 million smallholder farmers in this country, according to NBS. And it's going to cost 600,000 to cultivate 1 hectare of farm land. If you times that by the 40 million people, the money you require to invest to cultivate per annum,
So there's a gap in the fund.
that is 14 trillion.
Okay.
And you have a budget of 362 billion. That's 1% or 2% of our total budget. That money cannot support agriculture. What we as a company is doing, the farmers' wallet, is to drive the farmers to begin to see that they are the ones that owns the money to drive the economy. So we are working, we are ready to collaborate, and we have just launched our product, and we are bringing the farmers on board. The system is going to be driving itself. We have agents that we are recruiting who are going to be paid handsomely. We are going to create jobs within the rural area, and we assure you that financial inclusion is going to drive development. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Can we give him a round of applause, please? I think he's taking up the challenge of partnership that we talked about. So these are conversations we need to continue pushing. And I'm sure there are stakeholders in the room that together we can take that conversation further to increase access to finance for agriculture and for farmers. So thank you very much for that intervention. There was another hand in the middle row. Please go ahead. Short intervention. Our time is fast spent, so we can respond. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Amadi Kenneth. I work with the Consumer Protection Department of the Central Bank of Nigeria. I want to commend the panelists for a wonderful presentation this afternoon. Mine is a comment. I want to say that, Mr. Kogun, you didn't mention that CBN is also partnering with the Junior Achievement and the Ministry of Social Development and the NYSC on NAPGAP. That's a very vital instrument for reaching out to the youth. The most important thing about this program is the spiral effect. When we train the youth corps members, they are posted into the rural areas. They talk to the people. It's not only that, we set up CD groups wherever we go and monitor what they are doing, informing them the latest development about financial literacy. So I think it's a very important program that we all have to support and make sure that it's expanded so that it could go as far as it is expected. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Can we give him a round of applause, please? Thank you very much. Very good intervention. I think I did refer to that program, but you've provided additional context. So what happens is, working with the the NYSC and the Ministry of Youth, these volunteer corps members are trained across the entire country. And then in turn, they pass on the literacy knowledge to the country. Another opportunity for collaboration in the room. Stakeholders are here, and we can take that conversation further. So on that note, I would like to thank my panelists for their perspective. And this is the beginning of the conversation. We'll continue as we advance financial inclusion in Nigeria for the youth. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We'd like to please ask that you remain on stage for a group photograph. Can we please put our hands together for them if they've done a great job? It's RSM making the plug-in of her movie for me. Please, we have to support our own. It's very important that we do. And to present the gift to them, I'd like to welcome the Commissioner Administration for PENCOM, Dr. Umar Farouk Aminu, as he please comes forward to make the presentation of the gifts. Can we please put our hands together for Dr. Umar Farouk Aminu as he comes to present the gifts and take a picture with our panelists. Thank you, sir. So join there for a good picture first. And we are fast coming to the end of the plenary sessions. We have just one more plenary before we switch over to the awards and the recognitions. Still looking at the issue of financial inclusion, our final plenary for the International Financial Inclusion Conference 2024 is going to be looking at financial inclusion leaders' roundtable commitments, policy, innovation, and partnership. Now, before I welcome the members of that panel, I'd like to also applaud our online audience. Thank you very much for staying tuned and for being as much a part of the conversation. We'd like you to drop your name and where you're watching from in the comments section so we can all feel like we're one big family. Now, moving on to our final plenary, where we're looking at financial inclusion leaders roundtable commitments, policy, innovation, and partnership. I'd like to welcome the moderator of this session, who was the same person who was kind enough to deliver the opening remarks yesterday. So please welcome with me the Deputy Governor, Financial System Stability for CBN, Mr. Philip Ikazo, as he'll be moderating the next panel session. A round of applause for him. Mr. Philip Ikazo, please join us for your panel session. And for the members of this plenary, please welcome with me Engineer Bisoye Koka. I'll take that again. Engineer Bisoye Koka Odusote, the Director General, National Identity Management Commission, NIMC. Please a round of applause for her as she joins us on stage. We also have Ms. Omolola Oloworaron, the Director General for the National Pensions Commission. Thank you very much for the applause. We have Dr. Emomotimi Agama, the Director General, Securities and Exchange Commission. And finally, we have Dr. Aminu Maida, the Executive Vice Chairman and CEO of the Nigerian Communications Commission. A round of applause for these panelists. We'll run through their panel session, take maybe one or two questions. For our online audience, if you will be kind enough to drop your questions, we'd like this time to pick from the virtual community before we come into the physical hall. But moderator, it's over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm glad to see the hall is still very full, which means that we're having a good time and having a very useful conference. I have a very powerful panel of leaders in financial inclusion to take us through their commitments. They all need no introduction. I think you can all see on the board, we have the DG of SEC with us, my brother Timi Agama. I have my sister DG NIMC. Bisoye is here with us. We also have the DG PENCOM. My sister as well, Omolola, is here with us. And my brother Maida is not available, but we are privileged to have the executive director ably representing him on the panel. Well, like the great man said, you don't clap with one hand. Financial inclusion is about partnership. We've made tremendous progress since 2012 when the journey started. But our target of achieving 95% financial inclusion is well within reach. I think we've been extremely lucky with the advent of the fintechs. Nigeria, being leaders in fintech in Africa, have assisted greatly in the last couple of years to bring us to where we are today. And with that strong collaboration, and with the leaders around the round table, the only powerful leader missing on the panel is the Office of the Vice President, because they have also taken up financial inclusion as a major part of their strategy drive to get all Nigerians financially included. What our panel is supposed to do is to review the commitments that the leaders around this table have made on the journey, review the initiatives and projects embarked on, and also to talk about the journey to 95% financial inclusion target that we have set for ourselves. So we will start by basically having each of the leaders here talk a bit about the journey, talk about the initiatives and the projects that will drive our targets in financial inclusion. So we will start with DG NIMC, who is in charge of our database in Nigeria. Very critical that whatever we intend to achieve in financial inclusion must be on the backbone of the data that we have.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, Deputy Governor CBN, my big brother, my dearest big brother. Thank you very much, and good afternoon to my colleagues on the panel. Just for us to even just, kick off the conversation, for me and for you to understand the importance of the NIN, for any smart government to be able to formulate any policies to drive financial inclusion, I think that the most important thing is for them to be able to plan effectively for their citizens. And in planning, data is required. And one of the key aspects of data is for you to be able to know who your citizens are. You need to be able to identify who your citizens are. So this is the crucial role that NIMC, the National Identity Management Commission, plays in issuing a unique identifier known as the NIN to be able to use that as the foundational bedrock for government to be able to effectively implement its policies. I will give you a few examples on financial inclusion and the key role that we play. We've decided to expand our enrollment because at the moment we've enrolled about 115 million Nigerians, and we've decided to enroll more Nigerian citizens, especially in the underserved areas of the country. So we have been able to enroll most Nigerians in the cities, but we need to be able to expand our reach to the underserved areas. And in the underserved areas, you have those that are classified as the unbanked sector. So in doing this, we have partnered with the World Bank ID for D initiative, which focuses on ensuring that we drive inclusivity in those areas. So we're going to decentralize to the ward areas. If you look at Bono, for an example, or you take that in an instance, it might take you at least 5 to 12 hours, half a day and sometimes possibly a day to move from one local government to another local government. So it shows you that we need to be able to go down, take enrollment down to the community level. And in doing so, we have also partnered with the private sector through our program called the Front End Partners, which allows the private sector to participate in helping us reach our target audience in those areas. Another thing that we've done through the EKYC protocol is our verification platform, where we have the banks and the telcos and the insurance companies and also some government agencies like Pension, Immigration Service, NYSC, JAM, plugged through our service to be able to authenticate through the EKYC protocol. What we've also done in terms of authentication is we're trying to address issues around protecting digital citizen rights and also user consent management and giving control back to the citizens. So we have a new application, authentication application that we have developed, which is coming out at the end of November, which allows each citizen to be able to have control of its own data, to be able to use the name to facilitate transactions, financial transactions and also non-financial transactions through that application. Because that's what India did in the case of Aadhaar, to be able to drive up the number of transactions we're able to do on a daily basis. So it's something that we've looked at. We've also looked at the partnership, especially with the areas of the mobile money, mobile banking. So we would say that with the telcos and also some of the money, mobile banking agents that we have out there, some of them are being onboarded as front-end partners to be able to help us reach the underserved areas. Also regarding the GMPC cards we're launching, I'm sure you've heard a lot of noise about it. The NIMC identity card in partnership with Afrigo and data mining company known as NIMC is going to go live very soon. And what we have done with that partnership is to ensure there's financial inclusion through that card. So which means that people that are basically classified as the unbanked sector, there are multiple applets on that card and wallets that will be able to make it easy for them to be able to access government services. So we have done quite a lot of work on that. I'm just going to tell you some of the initiatives that we've embarked on because we have a long list of initiatives. First one is NEL Fund, which is the student loan initiative, first of its kind by the federal government, which allows a student to be able to access, a student of a higher learning institution to be able to access loans, to be able to ensure that they're able to pay for their education. And I think that was a fantastic one, and that's something that I enjoyed working on because it allows students to be able to have direct access to the loan without needing any form of connections or without having any sort of middleman barriers in that process. Another thing that we have done is we're working with on the Presidential Metering Initiative in partnership with the Special Advisor to the President on energy to be able to provide direct transfers of energy subsidies. Right now, the DISCOs are the ones that do that. So again, another attempt to eliminate the middleman barrier so that it can go directly to those that require that, thereby eliminating fraud and also ensuring that there's accountability in that process. We have a similar initiative that we're working on with the Ministry of Humanitarian in the disbursement of palliative funds of 25,000 naira to citizens. We're also ensuring that using the NIN and being able to verify with the NIN will eliminate any duplication, reduce identity fraud, and also show transparency in that whole process. Another initiative that we've worked on is with the Nigeria Immigration Service, where we have actually looked at the issuance and renewal of passports through the verification of the citizens' NIN and through the EKYC protocol. We've worked on quite a bit of other initiatives, especially the one with BOI, where over at least, I think over 800,000 loans were disbursed to MSMEs using the NIN. So we worked on that with them also. We also have quite very long list of stuff. I don't know if I should keep going on it. But we're also in partnership with the National Security Advisor in terms of using the NIN to enhance security and for effective border control. So I don't know if you're aware that recently some citizens got deported, and we had to obviously verify their name using biometrics. So using biometrics has helped us a great deal to bridge that gap, that divide, in terms of aiding financial inclusion. And we've also worked on our NIMC Act, which hasn't been, I'm going to speak to that a great deal, because a lot of the times the barriers you have in terms of driving financial inclusion has to do with the regulatory frameworks you have in place. So we had to work on the NIMC Act 2007. Since it was developed and it was implemented into law, there's never been a review of that act. And we needed to review it to reflect the Data Protection Act that was signed into law last year by Mr. President, which shows great commitment from his end in terms of fostering financial inclusion across the board and in terms of protecting digital rights for its citizens. I'm just going to stop right there, sir, just to...
Thank you very much, DG NIMC. My word, I know you've been busy, but I didn't know it was this busy. But most importantly, when I mentioned that you were a fundamental part of our financial inclusion drive, you recall that Tier 1 accounts had no identification, but the fraud levels became so high that Nigerians were losing so much money, and apart from losing so much money, a lot of money laundering issues were also being perpetrated on those platforms. And we took a decision that Tier 1 accounts had to now have minimum of BVN or NIN. And without the coverage you had for NIN, a lot more people would have been financially excluded. But I also heard that you are now outsourcing some of the onboarding. So if that is done effectively on a robust technology platform, then for sure you'll be able to cover, a target of 200 million Nigerians. Maybe we'll even find out how many we are by the time you finish. So we look forward to that happening, and we commend the great work that you've been doing.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
So let's go to DG Sec to give us a brief on their own journey.
Yes, thank you, my brother, the DG FSS of the Central Bank, the DG NIMC, DG PENCOM, and the Vice Chairman NCC you are represented. For us at the SEC, financial inclusion is critical because it drives financial deepening. So, what is the difference? The difference practically is that without financial inclusion, you can't achieve financial deepening. And so, it is so important that we are part of this discourse. The SEC had been collaborating with the Central Bank of Nigeria in this pursuit. And of course, the target of reducing it to 20% is part of the focus that we all, have agreed to. And what we have seen is that there is some improvement, but there is also room for more work to be done. However, it's critical to understand that the rural areas are the worst hit around their inclusivity in the financial system. More so, what financial inclusion simply speaks to is access to finance. The ability to be able to get through to finance that helps around building the system and strengthening financial system stability. The ability to access finance that will in turn become an engine to economic growth. The ability to access finance that also improves the well-being of the companies we are speaking to. But in all of this, it's exciting to see the role that fintech institutions are playing in helping us to achieve the goals that have been set out there for financial inclusion. Inclusivity is so important. But we have not up till this time been able to understand how to get about it. Saying it or desiring it is not enough. It's creating the processes that will lead to this. And some very beautiful statistics that is coming out of the capital markets most recently is that because we have adopted fintech in our processes, this has greatly improved the number of persons that have accessed the capital market. Most recently, I'm sure a lot of us are aware of it, that the MTN issued securities in the market. That action was facilitated by technology. And what we discovered was that far much more persons were able to actually invest in that offer. And excitingly, we also discovered that more women invested in that offer than the men. So prior to this time, the belief was that the women are less included, and as such, they are not there. But the statistics we have showed that the women made more investments in the MTN offer, much more than the men, as a result of the use of technology, which for us at the SEC was actually an exciting news. And this has continued even with, the bank recapitalization. The bank recapitalization has been so successful beyond the imagination of most persons, principally because of financial technology. And there have been much more new investors into the system, much more than it used to be, because of the ability to use what we call the e-offering system. So for us at the SEC, it is so important to continue to drive this process. And we have driven this process via several means. What we've also done is to introduce policies and new programs that helps that to happen. One of such is the crowdfunding platforms. The crowdfunding platforms are able to provide access to small and medium-scale enterprises to raise capital from the public, family and friends through a less laborious process. And so, for us, we have, as an institution and as a partner with the Central Bank of Nigeria and all other government institutions, been able to provide these opportunities to get people into, one, having access to finance, then deepening finance by assessing investment opportunities that exist in several ways. And this will continue because it is only when we are able to assess investments, we are also able to create wealth and also democratize wealth creation. That is, a fundamental objective of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, CFR, to make sure that wealth is democratized and gets to every nook and cranny and every Nigerian that should be able to have that benefit. So the SEC as an institution sees financial inclusion as part of its DNA in order that more Nigerians are able to access finance and are also able, out of that finance that they have access the capital market. One important thing that we also drive is a savings strategy. It is only by inclusion we are able to achieve a saving strategy for Nigerians. And that is critical in our growth trajectory. As we speak today, the capital market to the GDP is in the neighborhood of 16%. That is totally not acceptable. And so, how do we grow that? We can only grow that if we grow access to finance, if we include more persons in finance, and if we are able to provide opportunities for those people to access the capital market. So, increasing retail participation is, for us, fundamental. And that we are beginning to see with the fintech institutions, with the young population that we have, knowing fully well that by our demography, 70% of Nigerians are less than 30 years old. And indeed, 85% of Nigerians are less than 45 years old. What is interesting is that these Nigerians are very close relationship to their phones and the Android phones. Indeed, I call the phones the nest of kings of these Nigerians. And so, if you appreciate and understand that the phones are nest of kings of these Nigerians, and you can use that as an access to finance, inclusivity in finance, then you will appreciate the need to be able to carry these young Nigerians along in every form and way in order for us to be able to achieve our desire of an inclusive financial system, at least achieving the 95% target, which is the ultimate aim for the Central Bank of Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, my brother. We remember that financial inclusion is all about being a major catalyst for economic growth. And noting Nigeria's population, we've never really been able to turn over that population effectively to have the level of economic growth that we desire. And financial inclusion is what will take us there. It is heartwarming to have a crop of leaders, especially the ones we have on this panel, who deliver innovative policies using technology. We don't even praise ourselves enough. A lot has happened in the last couple of years that we haven't taken cognizance of. And once we continue driving in the right direction, I'm sure by this time next year, we would have seen significant growth all around. Going to PENCOM, we didn't know how deep this economy was until the Pensions Act. And that still remains an untapped area because just like Timi mentioned when he was talking about retail, we're working together with SEC and NGX. We came up with the retail e-offer for this round of capitalization. And that opened up the market for people who can sit in their homes and purchase shares on their devices. Nigeria has always led in technology, e-banking. We started receiving alerts in Nigeria, and there are now new things in Europe and in America. In some places, they still don't have it. So we must continue in that trajectory and build and develop the economy ourselves. So I will go to DG PENCOM to tell us her own journey and what is in store for us.
Thank you, DG. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and good afternoon to fellow DGs, my co-panelists as well. So at PENCOM, one of our key mandates is to ensure sustainable pension coverage for all Nigerians. In 2019, the micro-pension plan was introduced to ensure that we bring every individual, not just those in the formal sector, under the pension scheme. And since we are talking about that, by the way, I would like to encourage everyone here who is in the informal sector that hasn't subscribe to the micro pensions plan, to please do so. And for those of us here who have domestic servants or domestic staff, as we call it, whether it's your gateman, your house help, please open a micro pension plan for them so that they can have benefits in their old age. So, I mean, just to get that out there, it's the responsibility of all of us to ensure that we make contributions for those that work with us, even when we are not in the formal sector. So the micro pension plan was introduced in 2019, and that was basically to drive financial inclusion to the informal sector and also to the low-income earners, because financial security in old age is very important and a key objective of government to ensure that everyone is saving towards financial security when they are retired. So in PenCom, we've done a number of things to enhance the micro pension plan to ensure that we get more people to buy into the plan and subscribe to the plan. We introduced the access to pension funds to support mortgages for contributors. In addition to that, we are also looking at microcredit options such that when you have your micro pension accounts, you can use it as a security to get loans for businesses you might want to do or personal obligations you want backed by your pension. So we're looking at various products we can introduce that can enable Nigerians subscribe to that. Also, we are working on advocacy. Part of what we've done is we've partnered with universities, or we're partnering with universities to develop curriculum for pension courses in universities. So far, we've done that with ABU, Ahmadu Bello University, and also University of Lagos. Those two universities are offering pension courses already. And the reason for this is so that the knowledge gap is addressed right from the tertiary institutions. We still have a lot to do in terms of spreading the word, and we will continue to do that. So that's actively what we've done so far, but we have a whole body of work in terms of growing the micro pension scheme. And first and foremost is, first of all, to rebrand the name, because the micro pension scheme, a number of people are sort of skeptical about the name, to say, I mean, we are not micro, why should we contribute to this? So we're working on a rebranding plan to extend the micro pension plans to various sectors of the informal sector. Give it a name that covers and speaks to those sectors. So we'll be coming up with names that speak to various sectors like farming, or even gender, maybe it's women, maybe it's transport industry. So we channel the micro pension to specific sectors, and hopefully we can get people to understand that better and key into the product. In addition to rebranding, what we are also doing is leveraging on technology. Technology is very important. So now, before you can subscribe to micro pensions, you either come to the operators or the operators come to you. So we are looking at a robust technology. We've started working, engaging fintechs and telcos to see how we can leverage technology to ensure that people can, even from the comfort of their homes, onboard to the micro pension plan and can make transfers, deposits, and also when it's time to withdraw, you can also do that via technology. The kind of growth we're looking at, it's important that we have a robust technology in place, because that then enables us to scale. What we are also looking to do is to have an effective communication plan in place to ensure that we are able to reach everywhere across the country, including the rural areas. And talking about effective communication, we're talking about how do we speak to the various segments in the country. whether you are in rural areas, whether you're a market woman, whether you're a farmer. So communicating or marketing the product to these people has to be personal. We need to speak to them in a word that in a way that they understand and that makes them buy into the reason why they need to save towards their future and buy into the pension plan. So we're working on that already, but all this can't happen until we put the technology in place. Because given the numbers that we're looking at, like I said, is important for us to scale. So once we have an effective technology in place, then we can have a robust communication strategy to get more people to know what is happening, to know the advantages of opening or subscribing to a micro pension plan or to a pension plan towards their old age and towards financial security in old age. And then what we're also working on is also having an effective customer relationship management system, because as we continue to grow the numbers of people subscribe to the pension plan, then you would also expect that people will have issues that they want to complain about. And we as a regulator, we want to create a platform where people can, any contributor can just go online and make your complaints or say whatever issues you have, and the operators can pick it up. And then the regulator from our own side can as well supervise and regulate that space to ensure that the industry is providing the kind of service that that contributors deserve, essentially providing excellent service. Part of what we are also looking at, because everything we're doing, some of them we started, some of them are at the preliminary stages, some of them at advanced stages. So what we're also doing is also looking at other things that can help Nigerians. So what can we do to make Nigerians want to invest in this? What we are looking at is maybe we could look at matching funds, because if people are struggling to eat at the moment, how can you get those same people to contribute, to save towards their future or subscribe to the micro pension plan? So if we are working towards funding requirements or dynamics to make us support, if we can, the low income earners, do matching funds. We believe if we introduce this, it will enable a number of people in the society to subscribe to micro pensions. Some countries have done that already. Rwanda did that. I think India also did that, where they created matching funds. So for some category of people, particularly people in the low income sector, and that essentially drove up the participation in the pension scheme in those countries. So on the PENCOM side, those are the things we are looking at, just to focus on the eye-level points we're looking at in PENCOM. Thanks.
Thank you very much. And now the last but not the least is NCC. The ED from NCC will tell us about their journey.
Thank you, Mr. DG, and thank you for having NCC represented on this panel. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So basically, my name is Hawa Buba Wakili, Head of Digital Skills and Services. I'm representing the EVC of NCC, Dr. Abidu Maida. So basically, the Nigerian Communications Commission commenced formal collaboration with CBN with regards to financial inclusion in 2015. So by 2018, it had signed an MOU on payment systems. And in the same year, it also formed a joint technical committee between CBN and NCC. So from then on, NCC has actively participated in the governance structure of financial inclusion. So it's a long journey that we have traveled with CBN. So basically, as an enabler to financial inclusion, the role of NCC is to ensure the facilitation of policies, policy development, and also to ensure the provision and expansion of secure infrastructure, telecoms infrastructure, and also to ensure the availability, accessibility, and affordability that is key to networks by network service providers. So that role the Commission has been playing. So in that sense, there are some policies and initiatives that it has put in place to ensure that that connectivity is in place, because that is very vital, which has been echoed, throughout this session between yesterday and today. So what it uses as a policy is the National Broadband Plan. So what is obtainable at the moment is the National Broadband Plan 2020 to 2025. And it has targets. And the essence of the National Broadband Plan is for the deployment of both fixed and mobile infrastructure, terrestrial and non-terrestrial. So, and in implementing that policy, a number of initiatives since the launch of NFIS 3.0, so I could just mention some of those that have been done in recent times. We have the National Broadband Alliance of Nigeria. It has just been formed. And this alliance is a multi-sector alliance, both private and government agencies. And the aim of that alliance is to come up with sustainable models, innovative models. We have also mentioned in this room that there has been so much concentration on fiber optics. Yes, because it is reliable and more durable. But again, the aim of this alliance is also to look at other alternative solutions or alternative business models that will drive and ensure that connectivity. So, and also to promote usage. We have also identified, because we have seen in reports that even though there are some areas that have access to internet, however, they are not utilizing them. So this alliance is aimed to tackle both, to ensure that connectivity and also the usage. So apart from that alliance, we have, it was also mentioned in this room, this is a traditional issue or problem that we've had in Nigeria, right-of-way issues. So in recent times, we have re-strategized, and what we are doing is collaborating with the subnationals. Oftentimes, we collaborate just at the federal level. So, but we've seen that it is very, very important that we collaborate with the subnationals, because even though telecoms infrastructure is on the exclusive list of the federal government, also the states, they have rights over Land Use Act and so on. So we have increased that collaboration. And so as a result of that improved collaboration, we have seen, at the moment, we have almost 18 states that have either waived or brought down the right of way to the 145 naira per linear meter approved by the government. We have also seen, within the last 1 year, we have seen like 5 states waiving completely the right of way. So definitely this will enhance the rates, the speed that we want to deploy infrastructure. Another key project or initiative that is also in place is the 774 Local Government Connectivity Project. This is also a project that has been driven by the Office of the Minister, Honorable Minister, Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy. So the aim of that project is to have at least one point of access in every local government, 774. In Nigeria, so that that robust connectivity that we need dearly for other services, most especially for financial inclusion to thrive on, and all other digital services would be there. So another key policy that we have also put in place, that is in place, and we are working tirelessly to come up with frameworks, is the National Policy for Promotion of Indigenous Content in the Telecom Sector. This will definitely, we believe, by the time we're able to localize some of these products, most especially that we talked about smartphones in this room, a lot about smartphones, because mobile devices are those devices that most of these financial services and inclusion, of course, will be driven on. So we are looking at 4 sectors, 4 focus areas under the policy for indigenous content, and which includes manufacturing. And so what we have started doing is collaborating with OEMs to see how we can create that enabling environment for local production of devices. We are collaborating also with local manufacturers that are here to see how we can further support them. So these are things, and again, with regards to that, because we understand the expectations of digital connectivity, the internet. So we are also collaborating with GSMA. GSMA is carried out a study on factors militating against the adoption of smartphones. The EFINA reports, A2F reports 2023, confirmed that 88% of adult Nigerians have access to mobile phones. Probably it has changed. Probably it's almost 100. And that means phone is a very, very important tool to driving financial inclusion. And so therefore, we are aware of that and working towards, and again, part of that national broadband plan has a target of bringing down the cost of mobile phones, most especially smartphones. So that is also what we are working on. So again, one great achievement that we are celebrating in recent times is the NCII Order 2024 that has just been approved by the federal government, the National Critical Information Infrastructure Policy Order that is there. So NCC had been advocating for designation of telecoms infrastructure as critical national infrastructure. As you might be aware, this is an issue that has been bedeviling the sector and militating against the progress. So that order is there. In 2023 only, Alton reported that there were 24,000 fiber cuts within a year. So you can imagine the happiness for us for that approval. So the Commission, in collaboration with the Office of the National Security Advisor, has also formed a committee that will come up with an implementation plan, because this is just the beginning of the work for us. It's not just having the order, it's the implementation. So this is also one initiative that is in place since the launch of 3.3. And again, the strategic blueprint of the minister, current minister, just the current minister, the strategic blueprint has 5 pillars. So one of the pillars is on infrastructure. That is just to show you how we are focused in this sector to ensure that that infrastructure is there, because we understand that telecoms infrastructure, and indeed every digital infrastructure, is the cornerstone for modern communications and services. So these are, I think, some of the few initiatives that I can think of now. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that comprehensive update, especially the laudable and ambitious infrastructure build plan. I think the next year, maybe we'll have a day specifically for all the institutions, because their updates have been very, very comprehensive, and I'm sure they haven't even finished. I'm supposed to ask 1 or 2 specific questions, in fact, maybe 1, so that we can give the audience a chance, because our time is fast spent. So if we start with NCC, just a simple, small question that the rate of dropped calls affect transactions, since transactions are done, financial transactions are done over the phone lines with the telcos. So maybe you can tell the audience what NCC is doing to ensure that this is minimized, because once there's a break in the communication, there are disputes. Did the money go? Did it not go? And then, of course, the banks and the telcos have issues to resolve among themselves as to, who's paying what, who's not paying what. So just something to show that NCC is on top of it, and that maybe in the new year we'll offer better services, which is supposed to bring confidence to financial inclusion.
Thank you. Yes, so just like I mentioned, and that is why I told you we are quite elated with that CNNI because it has really been a menace. Because quite often you see these interruptions as a result of cuts, fiber cuts. You know, most of this connectivity are done by fiber cuts. So you see these interruptions, they affect, because you talk about the repair time, you talk about the cost and all this, it affects that. So with this order that is in place and with the collaboration of security agencies, of course, because it's now a criminal offense. So once you cut or you disrupt any, because it's a utility, telecom service is a utility, it's almost a utility. So once you do that, so I believe with this order, and again, with the quality of service metrics that we continue to improve, as you might also know, there are some regulations that are being reviewed, and this is also to incorporate some of these emerging issues that we have seen, and definitely with the combination of all these efforts, there will be improvements in the next few years. Thank you
very much. Then I move to DG NIMC. You have very strong collaboration with NIBS, which is fantastic, because like I mentioned, both institutions are in charge of our database for all the transactions we do. I'd say that people will be interested in knowing, you speaking to the data integrity for NIN. I know that it's very high. I know that I've had to handle 1 or 2 fraud cases where even the staff of the financial institutions enabled the registration of the fraudsters with incorrect addresses. But the biometric verification of BVN and NIN meant that the person's picture and some of his data he could not run away from. But just mention 1 or 2 things on data integrity of NIN, because that's what will instill confidence in financial inclusion, and people, even at the retail level, people should be able to transact with each other once you present your NIN, and we know that we can always trace you and find you.
Okay, thank you for that. I would say that it's not just in Nigeria, but in countries like India and also Estonia, where they've had very successful cases of having a unique identification number. There are always issues around data privacy. And so what we have done is we went back to the drawing board to say, okay, well, when upgrading every security architecture that we have, we must make sure it's by privacy, by design, from default, so which means that you have to take into consideration all of this and design it from that point upwards, as opposed to doing it in the reverse, where you build your application and then you now start trying to fix all the loopholes. So we've recently done a lot of infrastructure upgrades, and we have one of the best systems, if not the best system, for identity in Africa, and one of the largest in Africa. We've actually done quite a bit, especially with regulatory frameworks regarding onboarding of our FAPs by the introduction of the license assurance framework. So it basically has strict protocols, strict controls on that to be able to ensure that they're able to be onboarded successfully in compliance with the Data Protection Act. So, like I said, we had to amend our act to be able to reflect the Data Protection Act there, and also the Cybersecurity Act of 2015, which is now being put as part of our new reviewed act that we've done. So I just want to assure everyone, we've never had a data breach, at least whilst I was there, or whilst I'm in NIMC. There's been a lot of rumors, and there's also been a lot of fear around data integrity, and I'll tell you where it stems from. As an individual, when you submit your information, which is supposed to be used for authentication and verification services, when you usually don't have any sort of control over it, it then makes you feel like, you don't have access to it, and that creates a fear that makes people question, and get panicky when they hear a false rumor out there about, oh, your data is being accessed. But what we have now done with this authentication app, which we're releasing by the end of November, so in a couple of days or end of next week, more or less, is for you as a citizen to be able to control the information that you share. across board. So which means that you log in, you authenticate your identity, and then you're able to share that information you want. So for example, let's say there's a sector or a business that requires a certain information from your identity. You don't have to share all the fields with them. You can choose and control what information needs to go to them. And you can do that across board. And you doing this would allow us to be able to drive the authentications, number of authentications that we have, which would then place us on the same level as people doing things like that, like India and Estonia and co. So we're definitely focused on data integrity, and we're ensuring that that is, being factored in. But there are a few things, if you don't mind, I wanted to touch on based on what you said. For government, I think that we require more support from government in a few areas to bridge the digital divide. There are a lot of undeserved areas that have no or very little internet connection. Now, if you don't have any internet connection, how can you drive financial inclusion in those areas? So it's very, very important that government partners with the private sector to be able to drive that financial inclusion in that area by investing in digital infrastructure, which is the fiber assets that we have, the fiber infrastructure. I think that's one. I think secondly, also, there needs to be a lot more education on digital literacy. So they need to invest on education on digital literacy for us to be able to increase the adoption of digital tools in the country. I think that's also very, very important. But there's something else that's a fundamental underlying element that we don't speak too often about, even though we're very aware of it: energy. So there has to be some sort of sustainable renewable energy solutions at the community level, because if you don't have energy, your fiber will not work. So we need to be able to sort of focus on those targeted interventions to be able to drive the upscale and increase financial inclusion in those areas, which is very, very important. I would say that what we've also done regarding financial inclusion around consumer credit is that we've been able to enable access to consumer credit in partnership with Credit Corp by using verified names. And I think at the moment they have onboarded about 25,000 civil servants. And we've also been able to do the name-tin harmonization linkage, and also NCC and NIMC are in partnership. We have a joint technical committee where this year we're able to ensure that we increase the number of SIM cards that definitely linked to names, so that we can sort of enhance the security and reduce identity fraud in that area. We know who the owners of every SIM card is for active SIM cards. We've looked at all of these areas, but regarding NIMC, there's one more thing that we really want government to help us with: integration. We've been able to integrate successfully, like I've just shared. But there are some ministries, departments, and agencies that need to scale up their technologies. So at the moment, some of them can't even integrate because they don't even have the extant technology infrastructure in place for them to be able to level up and be able to integrate into NIMC. So we still have a lot of work to be done, and I just wanted to share that these are areas that government can help us to be able to be an enabler for financial inclusion. Thank you.
Just going back to DG Pencom, pension in a lot of countries is the largest investor in infrastructure, is the largest investor in power companies. In fact, I think some South African pension funds are invested in power companies in Nigeria. But that's not where I'm going. The micro pensions, majority of our population are outside the organized sector. So you can imagine the diamonds under our feet that we're standing on. That if we're able to unleash, then clearly, the sky is the limit. Now, I just want you to mention what you plan to do communication-wise to be able to pull people in? Because if I'm not, correct me if I'm wrong, you should be doing your 20th anniversary maybe next year when the scheme was launched. Wasn't it 2005? Was it 2004? So you're 20 years this year. What that means, what that tells me is that there has been people who've been collecting their pension without fail for the last 10 years, people who've retired. But even people who are working, the data you get from the PFAs is actually superior to the data you get from your banks. They give you your statement without fail. You know what your balances are. So the people outside the organized sector don't actually know that this is one of the best institutions that you can put your money in to secure your old age. So I think that communication needs to go out effectively, maybe using some influencers or real people who've retired to show that this is not another scheme where you put your money and you're disenfranchised. So just a word or two on that.
Thank you. So you're very correct. This is one of the best run institutions you can see in terms of managing your funds for your pensions. The scheme has been effectively run since inception. I mean, we all will recall the recession of 2007, 2008. Pension funds weren't affected because they all have robust risk management framework that allows them to invest funds in assets that secures the principal and also ensures optimal returns. And sorry, I will come back to your question, but something came to my mind. Just on the micro pension bit or personal pension contribution, as some may like to call it, currently the returns on assets under management for pension funds is 14%. So you see, for those of us who haven't subscribed yet, again, this is an opportunity to subscribe. So in terms of communication strategy, what we are planning to do, and you said some of them already, we plan to use influencers, we plan to use radio shows tailored to different sectors of the informal sector, whether you're looking at farming, whether you're looking at Nollywood, whether you're looking at the transport industry. And then in addition to that, also targets marketing according to geographies, to the various geographies as well, so that we can deploy some of our staff or ex-staff or people who we can get to support us to go to different regions and engage people at every level, including the market women as well. So it's a whole strategy we are working on, and you'll notice that I mentioned that earlier. In communicating or marketing this product, it has to be personal. So we have to find a way to speak to people in the way that they would understand what we are selling to them. Once we start getting people on board, as of today, I believe the total workforce is 84.1 million. Out of that, 77.5 million is in the informal sector. And we are not even doing anything yet. So like you said, imagine just tapping 10 to 20% of that sector. And imagine where the AUM will be and how it will power this economy. So this is very important for us. And the communication plan is also very important. We are working on that already, but we want to dial back a bit because the technology we have at the moment is not robust enough. It can't scale. Because if we go all out now, the operators will be overrun. The PFAs will be overrun because it means you have to go to the PFAs or they have to come to you. So we need that scalable technology that enables us to enroll millions and millions of people. Whether, I mean, I think NCC said 88% of Nigerians have mobile phones. So once you have access to your mobile phones, you are either using USSD or you can use, if it's a smartphone, then you can go to the app. So once we are able to do that, I believe we will be able to unleash that sector and people would adopt. But like you said, communication is key and we have a robust strategy towards that.
Thank you very much. So back to Dr. Gama DG Sec, so that we round up these questions and back to the audience. There's a segment that feels excluded from the formal financial sector, and you regulate them. I'm talking about our people in the crypto space. Maybe you can tell us one or two things about what you're doing about the regulation of the crypto space so that they can come on board and be part of the system.
Well, thank you. I guess you know my soft spots, and you got there. Right. So, I think before now, they probably would have thought so. But thankfully, with the emergence of your team at the Central Bank of Nigeria, we're beginning to see some light. And so on the 25th of December 2023, the CBN issued a circular to say, well, if you're a crypto firm, crypto exchange, you can actually process your transactions through a banking system. That was not available 3 years before then. And so it was difficult for the SEC to continue with its process of transformation of that space by regulating them. Because, of course, registration is actually the hallmark of regulation. Without registration, you cannot regulate. And part of the requirements of the SEC was that for you to set up a crypto exchange or any virtual asset service provider, you must have a banking account. And so, because the banking account helps us to do what we call the fit and proper person's trust. And so, it was becoming very, very difficult to achieve that. But like I said, thankfully, with your regime, this, challenge has been taken care of. And what have we done? What we have done is that we have introduced what we call the regulatory incubation and the accelerated regulatory incubation programs. What does that do? It embeds crypto exchange and other virtual asset service providers, into a sandbox that enables us to watch those sandbox. So it's an experimental cage where we see what you're doing, assess what you're doing, the risk involved, how does it affect the people that we are speaking to, how does it affect us as Nigerians, how does it affect the economy? Because as you may be aware, the crypto exchanges and crypto transactions are very critical to our national economy and indeed are issues of national sovereignty. And so we take it very, very seriously. What will we do to make sure that we are all safe? What will we do to make sure that the anti-money laundering and countering of financing of terrorism issues are taken care of? And we are in tune with the FATF regulations. This is what we need to do by providing the environment, the enabling environment, providing legal framework, and providing guidance and governance, and then a structure into the regulation of the crypto space. The SEC is on top of it, and that is why we came up with the regulatory incubation and the accelerated regulatory incubation program. As we speak today, we have onboarded 2 exchanges under the AROIP, and we have onboarded 6 other institutions into the regulatory incubation program. This is with a bid to making sure that whoever comes to play in this space is doing it according to the law and is well guided, properly governed, and of course does not become a clog in our national progress or security. So that's what we are doing. We are up to the task. The SEC has been a leader in the fintech regulation space for over 7-8 years when we came up with the market-wide fintech roadmap. But beyond all of that, we are continuing in that state in making sure that everyone is included. And that is why we are doing it. In my initial talk, I made mention of the fact that the majority of the population of Nigerians are youths. But one important fact that I'm sure a lot of us know about is the fact that in adoption of cryptocurrency, Nigeria is number 2 in the world. You can't beat it with a population of over 220 million persons, and we are number 2 in the world. It tells you how critical that is to our national economy, how critical it is to the youth of this nation, how critical it is to our very existence. And so we are very, very mindful of that. And in collaboration with the Central Bank of Nigeria, we are making sure that whoever we bring up or we introduce as having been registered must meet what we call the fit and proper persons test. Going forward, we will continue in that light, but one thing we have decided to do and we are continuing to do is education. Education is very, very, very critical. And so we have launched, a scheme whereby education will become more available to people. And what have we also done? We are introducing the podcast and what we call the capital market radio, because we want everybody to be informed. And it's only when you are informed that you can invest. If you are not informed, you cannot invest well. Because if you are informed, you can invest well and get protected. And that is our responsibility. One of our cardinal responsibility also as the SEC is investor protection and market development. That we'll have to do whichever way we can do it, but the best way to do it is to educate the people. And that we are very, very conscious about and will continue to do.
Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, the regulators are your friends. So, at this stage, we'll take questions from the audience in that spirit. Okay, I see one. There's a hand in the 4th row, I think. Yes, women. Oh, wow. Okay, can you conduct? You see, because I can see well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator, DG FSS. By your leave, there are your panel, of course, naturally, it's a leaders roundtable, so it's eliciting a lot of interest. But the time is fast spent. By leave of the DG, we are just going to do representative questioning. So we will take one from each of the rows, all right? And we will try to see how we are. So here, the lady in green, that's number 1, Tony. Wait, so, hello, young lady. So what we are going to do, excuse me, Osha, let's identify the speakers first all, and then that will just be with the greatest apology. We really have exhausted the time allotted for this segment. You are number 1 there. The gentleman with the brown cap, you are number 2 here. A lady 3 here. And the gentleman's hand, yes, you over there, 4. Yes, those 4, 5. Okay, there is a wildcard entry, the 5th one. By leave of that is the DG's question. So, okay, him here. All right, you are the one who has taken the 5th slot. So let's start from you, because you are not in the earlier 4. All right, let's have you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm starting with the DG Pencon. Quickly, as we all know, the CPS is about financial inclusion and whatsoever.
Hello. Please introduce yourself and where you represent before you continue to allow the respondents.
Okay, my name is Adamu Barada Abubakar from Kaduna State. I'm a student of Kaduna State University. My question is regarding the PFAs. Many retirees, they have retired, but they doesn't have access to their money from the PFA. You will see that they've retired 3-5 years, but up to date, they are unable to access their money from the PFA. After they've done all the documentation, they keep going to the PFA. PFA will be sending them to their state pension board. Please, what is PEMCON doing to make it easy so that people will access their money? Second question to the PEMCON, it was announced in Kaduna State that it passed, Kaduna State House of Assembly have passed a bill it's now a law that a pensioner can access 25% from his RSA. Unlike the previous, I know the PENCON is 15%. Please, how is this possible? My second question is to the DG NIMC. Please, ma, it was presented this morning by the Deputy Director of Policy and Communication of Bill and Melinda Gates that is only 110 million Nigerians have registered with NIMC. And ma, people down in the grassroots, if you go to register with them, they must have registered with NIMC before they can go and obtain their BVN. What is NIMC doing to give them more people access to register so that they can get that?
Adam, I'm going to stop you there. You have taken the question, so let's have...
Please, my last question is to the
DG.
DG,
Or
sir.
if it's to the DG, I have no choice. You have to, you can answer.
Yes, sir. Please, sir, it's about the recent policy of CBN to the service providers. It was agreed that the account that you have, they are in tier 1, tier 2, they have certain amount that when the money enter the account, it will be put on pending. And what you will use to upgrade the account, you are to use the NEPA bill, that is the utility bill. And the most acceptable utility bill where everyone has access to it is electricity. Down in the local government, some local government doesn't have electricity for the past 2 years. Some 1 year, some 2 years. And they were saying the bill that will be allowed is the recent bill of last 3 months. So, like now you went to the farmer to buy a ginger from him, you send money to his account, the money is on pending, he will not agree to give you his goods, he can withdraw the money back and the money cannot be retrieved. What is CBN doing to bring another option so that people can upgrade their account and make the financial inclusion so easy to everyone? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Adamu. So now, Tony, let's get back to our... We have, yes, the lady there, one, yeah.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Please, but again, just before you start, please, you are limited to a single question. Right.
Good afternoon.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. All protocol duly observed. My name is Adiola Astrop, working with Wema Bank PLC.
Okay.
My question goes thus. Apart from pension scheme, what is central bank doing for the senior citizens, like age 65 and above? That's one. Then two, what is NIMC doing to help us on their confirmation portal, to help banks to confirm identities of customers with ease? Because as we speak...
Okay, I think the point is made. What is NIMC doing? You sneaked in a second question nonetheless. Let me have here, please, Tony. No, was it, where is it? I think that he has, yes, he had,
hello. My name is Salihu Ali Umar, National President, Association of Mobile Money Operators of Nigeria. My question goes directly to PENCOM.
Okay.
As we all know, you cannot talk about financial inclusion without mentioning agents. And agency banking or agents are well spread everywhere. And based on the statistics and what is going on now, the agents are not even captured properly, and they can be a right channel to reach the grassroots and informal sector. So I want to ask what PENCOM is doing, or if they have any plan engaging agents in reaching to grassroots or informal sector. Because agents are the best channel to reach the roots, and if there is incentives, we will also be captured and we will help in capturing the informal sector, and we make it easy for the informal sector, the general public, to make deposits or reach out to their accounts easily, because we are spread everywhere. So my question is, what is the plan of PENCOM reaching out to grassroots through agents?
Agents
Thank
banking.
you.
That's the national president you said you are speaking. Yes. The third one, right, madam? Yes, it was you.
Yeah, good afternoon. I'm Pina Olakpade, the convener of Ibepa Women Initiative and Development. My question is to Mrs. Omolola. The PENCOM industries, with the farmers in all the states, there is a lot of things that we lack from the government, especially from CBN. We don't have tractors to cultivate. We don't have machine to do the processing of our oil from groundnut, from dates. We are not inclusive in the program. Since yesterday, all the discussion so far, I've not seen any specific item that has been mentioned about the women in agriculture. Please, we want to be inclusive in this financial development. Kudos to the host of this program, the governor, Central Bank of Nigeria.
So, ma'am, what is your question precisely?
I said my question is the women should be inclusive in the program.
In the
the
program.
women farmers.
Okay, women
Grants,
farmers.
yes, in form of machineries. We need it.
Thank you very much.
That's cool.
Sure,
Yeah.
well noted. Let's have the next one over there. Yes, was it you? Okay, you were the one for the group. Yes, please.
Okay, my name is Michael Obafemi. I represent AMBA, Association of Mobile Money and Bank Agents. My question is directly to Engineer Bisola Koka, DG of NIMC. Madam, you've said quite a lot, innovation under NIMC, and we actually support your drive and go. But my question is around, one, the issue of virtual private network. I'm sure it's a burning issue. I really want you to speak to it and probably give us some level of assurance as to when we hope to get the network back for front-end partners and agents to get working. Then the issue around harmonization on BVN, NIN, and driver license. I want you to also speak to it. Then lastly, issue of NI suspension and NI upload. You brought up what we call, what people feel is unachievable, which is the NIMC self-service option. Are we looking at also including NI suspension and all this in the probably part 2 of the NIMC self-service? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I really must apologize to all of you delegates. I know you all have got questions you want to ask this very distinguished panel. It is a very difficult task I have got here, but we also must balance between taking the questions and allowing the program to run its course. However, I do know that even beyond this conversation on this panel, each of the agencies they represent have got channels of engagement. And the Central Bank of Nigeria, the Financial Inclusion Secretariat is there. Please, you can channel the questions you have not been able to ask here. I apologize that thus far, these are the only ones we can accommodate, as I hand over back to the moderator to call for the responses.
Okay, thank you very much. I think there were a couple of questions for NIMC, PENCOM. I think SEC escaped, right? And then I have one or two to answer as well. NCC, there's no question for you, right? Okay, so, well, let's start from PENCOM then.
Okay, I'm glad to see that a number of people are interested in pensions. So I'll start from the first question, which was from Mr. Abubakar, and I think it's only your name I got from everyone that asked questions. I'm from Kaduna State Universities. So you said that retirees don't have access to their funds, some go to pension boards. So part of what we are doing is to get all the states in the country to get on the CPS scheme, the contributory pension scheme, whether you're running defined benefits or you're running contributory pensions. Our goal is to get all states in. But as of today, we only have 8 states under the CPS. And I'm not aware that, sorry, when I say 8 states under the CPS, I mean 8 states that are fully compliant, that have met all the requirements, and that are not owing at all in terms of contributions for workers of the state. So in terms of the outstanding you're talking about, I'm not aware that there's any outstanding that long for states. I am aware of the Treasury-funded ministry, departments and agencies of the federal government. And that is since March last year, which we are working with the federal government to resolve. But on the state bits, I am not aware of that. I suspect those states might not be fully onboarded to the CPS scheme. But I think my team is here, and I would really like to hear more about that, so that from the PENCOM side, we'll work with the respective states and see how those issues of pending pensions for years can be addressed. You also mentioned making it easy to access pension funds. Frankly, it's easy to access pension funds today. I think, except the funding is not there, where we normally have those challenges is with governments, state or federal. But where the funding is there, I think within a period of 2 weeks, funds should be made available. In fact, we are working to actually reduce that to maybe a week or 72 hours. We want to improve on the timeline to ensure that retirees get their funds as at when due. You mentioned Kaduna State passed a law that enabled access to 25% of pension funds. I know that the PRA allows access to 25% of your pension funds towards mortgages. So if you have a mortgage and you've been contributing, you can access funds up to 25%. Based on some guidelines you need to meet. In addition, if you've been out of jobs for, I think, 3 years, I think the percentage is also 25%. You can access your pension funds as well if you've been out of jobs. But for what you're saying, Kaduna State passed, except I look at what they have said that 25% should be used for, I'm afraid I can't answer that question at the moment. On the question around agents, using agents to get to rural areas or across the country to increase micro pension plans across the country. So part of our strategy is also to use agents, but like I said, we are still working on all of that and how it's going to work. So we will definitely involve agents because we see what agents did with financial inclusion in banking. I used to work in First Bank, and I think amongst the banks we still remain, First Bank still remains #1. So I know the work agents do, and we will definitely involve agents in this journey. Then there was that question about farmers' access to tractors, and frankly, okay. She's waving her hand. Maybe that is not meant for me, but I would like CBN.
It was for CBN.
Okay, so I'm glad that question is not for me. But our micro pension team will be engaging you to see how we can get you onboarded to the micro pension plan. Again, it seems like this is my last word for today. I would sing micro pensions again. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. If your house help, your gateman, you haven't opened a micro pensions plan account for them, please go ahead and do so. Thank you.
Thank you very much, DG PENCOM. Sorry? Timmy says you have to pay for the advert, but we're in this together. So DG NIMC, please.
Thank you. The first two questions from the gentleman from Kaduna. You mentioned that the figure given for enrollment was 110 million, which is not the update. It's 115 million, okay? That's as of yesterday, it's 115 million. You also asked what NIMC is doing to give access for registration. In my earlier conversation, I had mentioned that we are definitely going to increase our enrollment drive through partnership on the ID4D project with the World Bank, which allows the private sector to participate as front-end partners in assisting us to be able to enroll more Nigerians in underserved areas. So I hope that answers your question. What is NIMC doing to confirm on their confirmation portal for verification? Dear Madam, your question wasn't too clear, but I think I might have a fair idea of what you're speaking of. I had mentioned earlier that we are definitely doing upgrades of our existing infrastructure. So just like the banks had issues of recent, where GTB and Co had a problem, had an upgrade maintenance issue, and customers were being assured that it will be up and running. And since you work for a bank, Wema Bank, I'm also giving you the same assurance that you will, be able to have access to it as soon as possible. Immediately we're done with the maintenance upgrade. So I'm sure you understand that from your own angle. To the gentleman to my right, you spoke about issue of VPN for FEPs and agents. It's a very, very, very vague question. What I can tell you right now is we've ensured that for inclusivity, we've ensured that Nigerians in the diaspora are also able to register, okay, through our various agents that are also in the diasporas, and also for our agents that are in Nigeria. However, what we're going to do for seamless access for enrollment is to ensure that the diaspora enrollment goes live as soon as possible. It's currently in UAT, and people are able to sit in the comfort from their home, for the comfort of their homes, are able to register online. Speaking about the VPN, another thing that we want to do is to sort of improve what we have. So we're doing a current review on the VPN protocol in terms of the access, user access, and we've strengthened and tightened our rules around onboarding processes for agents and FEPs, and also to be able to allow, for example, FEP agents normally would have to email us to be able to change their password. But what we have done, which was actually, last week, was to be able to allow them be able to change their own password themselves, okay? So there are a lot of little things like this around FEPs that we've tidied up. And this is why I mentioned the license assurance framework takes care of all of this and addresses all of these issues that you mentioned. Harmonization of BVN as is ongoing in partnership with MD of NIBS. He was here earlier. I can't find him anymore in the room. Oh, he's right here. Who is a dear brother of mine. And that's one of the things that we're working on with him, to make sure that we're able to continue to harmonize BVN successfully, and we're working together as a team. And in another area that I mentioned was the cards, ensuring financial inclusion through the cards, which were also in partnership with Afrigo, which is a subsidiary of NIBS. You mentioned the self-service option, including NIS. I don't know if you recall, I spoke about the Nigerian Immigration Service earlier as a use case, and I mentioned how vital the NIN was in terms of issuance of passports and renewal of passports. But what we also did was we created a self-assist modification platform, which means that, for example, if you apply for a passport renewal, and what we do at the back end is to match the data that immigration has against what we have in our database. And when we do that match, if it doesn't tally, it means that you need to come back to NIMC to be able to edit and update your information. And in doing so, we thought that rather than you to come to our offices, you should be able to do it from the comfort of your home. And we came up with a modification application for you to be able to log in using your identity, which means using your biometrics, your facial, identity, you're able to verify that it is you that wants to make the required changes, and then you have to tick a consent box which basically speaks to data protection and give your consent, and then go into the application and then update your details as required, so that you can get that change done instantly without the need for you to come to our offices. So what we're trying to do at NIMC, outside of improving, upgrading our technology in the front end, and our middleware and our back end, is to also ensure service delivery. Make sure that our processes are seamless, and it's very easy for any Nigerian to be able to, 1, enroll, 2, modify their records. So that's basically the summary of it. I hope I've answered your questions very well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, DG NIMC.
Sorry, DJ, I forgot. There was a lady that mentioned Agric.
Is it the tractors?
Madam Agric.
The tractors, I think that question is for me.
Is that for you? Okay.
Or do you want DG NIMC to take the tractor question?
Because...
No, it was actually for me. Yeah. No, let me address it. Okay, starting from... Okay, let me just start from where she stopped. I think I'll also like to add that beyond the remote NIN registration she talked about, I think we're also happy to announce that we're going live very, very shortly on diaspora remote BVN verification. MD NIPS, what's the launch date, the go live date? Did you hear him? Okay, so 1st December. I was even going to push it to next year, but okay, since you said 1st December. So Nigerians in diaspora will be very happy. This has been a major problem for them in opening accounts and operating accounts in Nigeria, and also investing in the economy. But from 1st of December, they will be able to sit in the comfort of their homes and have their BVN registration done. And it has very, very robust security features. So if anybody is thinking of circumventing it, have a second thing coming. The access to utility bills for farmers to register. Well, that is news to us, but this is a listening central bank. We will take it on board and see what is possible. But like we always say, the level of fraud on accounts, tier 1 accounts, has been very high. It got so high at some point that some banks just decided that no more tier 1 accounts. We were not dealing with all those wallet accounts. So that's why I mentioned that we now said, let it be BVN or NIN. However, we would look at that. I always emphasize that we would never sacrifice anti-money laundering and curtailing terrorism financing on the altar of financial inclusion, because the damage that would do to us will be far greater than the gains of financial inclusion. So it's important that that is done. Some of you are well aware that we're on the gray list of FATF, and that's not where we should be. We're a growing economy. We need to get off that list so that we'll be able to attract all levels of investments. And I think it was a lady from WEMA that asked about what CBN is doing for senior citizens 65 and above. Well, I think the charity will begin at home. I know banks like GT, first of all, once you're above 60, they remove all COT charges. So maybe WEMA can join that in supporting senior citizens and remove all charges for people above 60. However, supporting 65-year-old senior citizens is a job for the fiscal side. There'll be, I'm sure in the palliative measures, recognizing the senior citizens will be high on priority list, and by the time they roll out their measures, we will see what is done with that. The question on the tractors. Again, that is for the fiscal side. The Ministry of Agric is working on being able to meet those requirements. But you recall that this current management of CBN said that they would no longer do interventions the way it was done before, because that was taking CBN to becoming a commercial bank. That's not what a central bank should do. Instead, we would channel our resources through the development agencies, development finance institutions that are established to deliver such interventions. You have the BOI, you have the Bank of Agric, you have the Development Bank of Nigeria. All those institutions would be supported by CBN to be able to make those interventions. But we no longer have the days where people come to CBN for direct funding in various segments. I think that has covered all the three questions for CBN. You've been a wonderful audience. Thank you very much for listening.
And you have been a wonderful moderator as well, DGFSS. Could you indicate that he complimented? Let's have a more resounding round of applause. I will just invite board member CBN Professor Murtala Sagagi to please step forward and do us the honors of handing over the souvenirs to this panel, and then we have the group photographs. Please, panelists, just step. So please, the professor is there. We have, if you're just joining us, the panel that has just ended was the Financial Inclusion Leaders Roundtable Commitment, Policy, Innovation, and Partnership. Prof, thank you very much. Do us the honors. We will shortly thereafter have the group photograph. And that, in actual fact, will signify the end of the business plenary sessions as we dovetail into the next phase of the program. Again, apologies to all of you participants for the questions that we did not take, and the virtual audience. Please take it down, DJ, take it down. Take down the sound, please, technical, yes. And now we are witnessing a group photograph between the board member, Professor Sagagi, handing over. So we'll have a collective one. You just join in there, Prof, and then you join them. So we'll have we have the group photo. Join the pictures. Distinguished participants, Olive and I have had the pleasure of piloting proceedings in the last 48 hours thereabout here. But all good things do come to an end, Olive.
Indeed. Indeed, all good things do come to an end. This is where our journey ends as we officially hand over to our colleagues to go on with the next set of activities. But if you think, I mean, you have said that we've done our own parts, but I don't know if they think that we've done a good job. So if you think we've done a good job, please give us a round of applause.
I'm going to have my last word here to this audience. The speakers have spoken. I've been reiterating since yesterday that we should not see ourselves here, Olive, including you, who has been anchoring from the podium, just as participants at a conference. My sense is that we are architects of transformation. who have come here because of a shared vision, right, to unlock opportunities, dismantle barriers, and ignite the flame of financial inclusion. Because the advocacy must go on that financial inclusion, it's not just a policy option, but a path to shared prosperity. I was there 2 years ago at Abuja. We're here with Olive here now in Lagos. Wherever the winds of destiny blow this conversation to next time, hopefully we will be here to continue to play our role. But until such a time, each and every one of us remains an advocate of financial inclusion in our own little spaces.
Yes, I mean, he said it all. And I'm hoping that by 2025, when we gather again for another International Financial Inclusion Conference, we can measure the progress that we've made individually and as businesses. And by that time, we hope to have had more signatories to the We5 codes to bridge the gap, the gender gap in financial inclusion. Enough of all the talk. It's time for another part that some will consider the fun part, where those who have worked really hard will be recognized and awarded. But we want to say thank you for the opportunity to serve as your master of ceremonies. We will now take a leave for the last time at the International Financial Inclusion Conference. My name is Olive Emodi, and it's been an honor to serve you.
And from the Corporate Communications Department of the Central Bank of Nigeria, I remain yours sincerely, Mohammed Haruna, signing out now as I bring on board this beautiful duo who will drive you through the award segment.
Can we please put our hands together for Oluwaseun P. Olaniyo and the beautiful Miss Yanabo as they come forward to lead us through the award ceremony. We would have done an official handover, but this is as official as it gets. Can you give them a louder applause?
Thank you. A very good afternoon to everyone here. I think you also deserve a round of applause. Please put your hands together for yourselves.
Yes.
You've been here for 2 days. We've had exciting conversations. We've had cause to learn, unlearn, and relearn. We've listened to industry perspectives. We've listened to country perspectives, all with one sole purpose: driving financial inclusion to the last mile. Thank you for being here. And thank you also to the online audience. They've been fantastic. Sheung?
Can we just celebrate our online audience with a round of applause? We have people who have joined us from different parts of the world. I think that round of applause can be better for them. They've stayed very attentive. They've joined in the conversation, and we want to thank them. One more round of applause, and I think that we need to celebrate in advance 95% financial inclusion in Nigeria by the end of this year. Can that round of applause be loud? Because I believe the collective energy in the room, our collaboration, all of us working together, is really to achieve the goal of the CBN to attain 95%. At this point, we want to get into celebration of those who have worked hard, champions of inclusion. And to do that, we thought it would be nice to have some of our past awardees come and tell us, give us perspective on what this award really means, the weight of this award, and to talk about what they've done in the last 2 years. Is that correct?
Absolutely. The awards for this afternoon are called the Champions of Inclusion Award. Champions of Inclusion Award. We're going to call 2 winners from 2022.
Yep.
And like he rightly said, to share how the awards changed their lives. And this will help the new winners have a sense of expectation as they'll be awarded today. And I want to call them, I'd like us to please cheer, make them happy, celebrate them as they come up here to share their success stories. First of all, I'd like to call on Miss Modukpe Ladipo. A round of applause for her. She's the pioneer CEO of Elfina. And she's currently the founder of Prospera Development Consulting. Please make her welcome as she comes up here to share her success story.
All right, and closely following her, who will speak for just about 2 minutes, Mr. Tunji Andrews, the CEO Awaba. Can we put our hands together for Mr. Tunji Andrews? So for 2 minutes each, they will just share their experience and talk about what life has been since they received the award. Over to you, Ms. Modupe.
Thank
Good afternoon, everybody. Last year, 2022, I was awarded the Leadership Award in Financial Inclusion. There's a lot that we have done since then, but there's still a lot of work that we still need to do. So I first want to congratulate all the nominees. I don't know who's won, but I would like to sort of, as we're all together, sort of encourage us the little things that we still need to do more in. So the first one is around insurance, because we see that insurance is still very low. Nigerians typically save because they say they are saving for an emergency, which is not how we should be saving for. Why do we save for things that we can use insurance for? The second one, the DG Pencom already talked about, micro pensions. I want to emphasize that we still need to do a lot more there. Why should people in their old age be relying on their children when we now have opportunity for us to put money into micro pensions? So I support you there. I'll be championing that passionately. The third one is the capital markets. So I think the DG Sec was here. Why should we be able to have a whole breadth of companies listing on the stock exchange, having IPOs, exiting on the stock exchange? We just do not have that at the moment. So we need to really do a little bit more work around that. So I want us to all know that we can still do more. The banking number is 52%, and if we say formal inclusion is 74%, we still need to do a lot more. We need to get the breadth of products going, as well as the breadth of providers going. And overarching all of that is financial literacy, which we talked about earlier on. We really need to do a lot more consumer awareness programs that are effective and cover different segments. You know, consumer awareness is not homogeneous. We need to use our different dialects to make sure they get done. And then consumer protection is the greatest one, that we need to make sure we shift the balance of overprotecting our financial providers and move that balance towards the consumers, because that's the way we engender trust and we'll get more people working in formal inclusion. So for me personally, since I was given the award, I have worked with the Bank of Industry to develop a comprehensive women's economic empowerment strategy. I continue to support other governments around Africa to embed financial literacy in their financial inclusion programs. We continue to support the youth because we feel that it's something that we need to do. And most importantly, I continue to push for consumer protection. So those are the things that I have worked on since I got the award. So next year, all of us, we need to do more. Do more.
Thank you so much. Can we celebrate Ms. Modukwe Ladipo?
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, thank you. All right, over to Mr. Tunji Andrew CEO Awaba. Can we welcome him with another round of applause, please?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tunji Andrews. I lead the team at our bar. Our major occupation is driving financial services at the last mile. Last edition, we were awarded the most inclusive financial service product, primarily for supporting pension fund administrators in pushing micro-pension across the country. To be honest with you, I went to the award ceremony to brag that we were nominated so that I could take a picture. So when it was posted that we were winners, I honestly did not want to go up because I kind of felt that they made a mistake. I mean, several weeks afterwards, I still felt somebody was going to call me and tell me, Tunji, bring back the award. It was not for you. But it turns out that the work we're doing was being noticed by people who organized this, and we're really, really grateful for that. It turns out that after that point, not only have we been able to continue doing the work we've been doing with the pension fund administrators in the country, we've now been doing a little in insurance. We've also been distributing some of those products to be able to make sure that every single person can get access to it. So for instance, as of today, you can go to any ATM across the country and pay for micro pensions, any ATM at all. It doesn't matter which one it is. We've also been able to make it available on POS terminals. But it was really a lot started from here because we started to actually believe that it was possible to do more. it was actually possible. Because if we could be nominated and win that award amongst the giants that we're nominated with, because honestly, I did not think we stood a chance, but we're able to do that. And I want to say thank you to the organizers, and hopefully the next participant that wins this award will also believe and go on to do greater things. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, can we celebrate Mr. Tunji Andrews one more time? All right, so we want to move really swiftly. We have a lot of awards to give, but just a few things to note. First, we want to thank our online audience. Sadly, at this point, we might have to shut down the live stream because we want to have a little party, and there might be copyright implications of the DJ playing music. So we want to say bye-bye to our online audience. You can stay connected on all our other platforms on social media to know what is going on. All right, so we want to get right into it. Mebaka?
Yes, absolutely. Tonight